To talk more about this handling of a prisoner swap, we're joined in New York by David Rohde. He's a Reuters columnist. He's the author of A Rope and a Prayer. In studio, our New York Times columnist Tom Friedman and Peggy Noonan of the Wall Street Journal. But David, I want to talk to you. Back when you were working for the Times, you were actually captured by the Taliban in Afghanistan and held for 6 months. What do you make of this new information? We're hearing this morning that the sergeant actually was tortured while he was in captivity, telling people that he tried to escape and that after he escaped from the Taliban, they put him in a metal cage and kept him there for long periods of time.
It sounds very credible to me. I was kidnapped by the exact same Taliban faction. This is the Haqqani network. They work very closely with the Pakistani military. I was able to escape. I had an Afghan help me take me to a Pakistani military base. Bowe Bergdahl didn't have that. So the reports are credible. And I also think Bowe Bergdahl needs to answer why he walked off that base. But I would really caution Americans. This is, you know, there's all these rumors that came out during my case, and many of them were not true. And it's really important to sort of wait and get the facts here. A lot of the reporting on this story has been way off, and we need to sort of hear from Bowe Bergdahl about, you know, what happened that night. And just on another note, I still today, 5 years later, feel tremendous regret for going to an interview with the Taliban, getting kidnapped, and what I put my family through. Whatever caused Bowe Bergdahl to walk off that base, you know, did he desert? Did he have a mental breakdown? He will regret this for the rest of his life, I guarantee you.
Have you, I know you kept in very close contact with his parents and with some other people whose relatives had been taken captive. Have you talked to his parents recently?
I have, and this is public. It's been reported they are getting death threats at this point. They're heartbroken by what's been happening, and I guess they're also asking for time. And if there was any loss of life, if any American soldiers did die in the search for Bowe, you know, that would break their hearts as well. And they're just again asking for time and sort of a due process.
You wrote the other day, the focus of our anger should be on the kidnappers. They are the problem, not the hostages, their families, or a government that meets a demand. Talk a little about that.
Well, the reality is that taking prisoners is actually working for you know, militant groups, and it didn't start with Bowe Bergdahl. Israel exchanged 1,000 prisoners several years ago for Gilad Shalit, one Israeli prisoner. European governments have paid over $100 million in ransom to al-Qaeda affiliates in the last 3 years. So, you know, militants were already looking to kidnap American soldiers and kidnap American civilians. What we need to do, and there's been success in this area in countries like Colombia, in the Philippines, and in Somalia, is try to get control of these ungoverned spaces where terrorists have safe havens. Pakistan is the problem here. People have been talking about it for years. Bin Laden was sheltered there. The reason this deal happened was because there was no pressure from the Pakistani government to get Bowe Bergdahl free. U.S. officials have said that there was no pressure on the Haqqani network. Again, the Taliban faction that had Bergdahl has worked closely with the Pakistani military. They didn't pressure them to release Bergdahl, and there was apparently no effort by the Pakistani military to find him.
All right. Well, David, thank you so much. And, of course, we're glad you're home here to report and analyze this story. Tom Friedman, you've been reporting on this story for a long, long time. What is just give me of your view on what happened here and what we should make of it?
Well, for me, big headline, Bob, is fog of war. I mean, these things are inherently messy, every aspect of this story. I think the administration did the right thing in bringing him home. I think we have that commitment to our soldiers. That was important. When you listen to Senator Dianne Feinstein and Senator Chambliss, you know, when you want people, you know, to be around for the landing, you should have them on the takeoff. Seems to me that was a mistake, not fully briefing them. I think it was a mistake to have this White House press conference to elevate it with the family there. I think it could have been done in a lower key way.
At the Rose Garden.
Right. I think it should be handled in a lower key way. And now I totally agree with what David said. Let's just wait till the facts are out. You know, my old boss, Hal Raines, taught me, you know, anytime you go back over a story 1 week, 1 day, you know, 1 month later, you always discover a new thing. So I'm withholding judgment on everything else until this.
Peg.
I think the nature of the changing information, they say this and then they say that, this dripping out of information that is then refuted is a very strange part of the story. The stiff-arming of Congress is an amazing part of this story. As Senator Feinstein, I think, between the lines was more or less saying that. There is one way, it seems to me, that immediately you might clear up some of the facts. That would be Bowe Bergdahl, himself in a hospital in Germany for 8 days now, meet with the press, with some reporters or one reporter. It is odd that he appears to be being kept in isolation. I spoke last night to a Vietnam prisoner of war. He was there almost 7 years, abused, beaten, all the terrible things. When those guys were finally sprung, they were taken out, put in a hospital for a day or two, put in Clark Air Force Base for a day or two, and then they were sent home. They had been treated terribly. They were all wounded one way or another, but they were allowed to speak freely to the press, immediately call their family. The Army set it up. It seems to me strange that this man, Mr. Bergdahl, is being kept away from clearing up all of the questions about who he is, what he did, and what happened to him while he was there.
And as I understand it, Tom, he has not been allowed to call his family yet.
Either hasn't been allowed or hasn't wanted to. The doctors haven't recommended. I don't know enough about the psychological state of these things. I just want to say one other thing about the Taliban, which is an important point for me, which is we've released these 5 guys. They've been off the battlefield for 13 years. We need to stop treating these people as if they're some combination of Paul Bunyan and John Wayne. They aren't, 15 feet tall. They're 5 guys. They're important in the Taliban. Believe it or not, the country will survive, if they're, released and even if they return to the battlefield.
All right,
Tom,
we're going to get
major, big, serious operatives and players, and there's no particular reason to think they will not be going back to the show.
We are going to hold this thought.
All right, sorry, I beg your pardon.
Which will be coming up. But I'll be back in just a minute with some personal thoughts of my own about some other things.